Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to PDAC 2021. Unfortunately, it's a virtual edition test through COVID-19. We cannot meet us all in Toronto, but we still try, of course, to keep you informed. And Commodity TV is a proud media partner of PDAC 2021. And we have the honor and pleasure today to have Sam Pazuki here, the Vice President Communications of OceanaGold, with a nice interview presentation here with us. Sam, good morning to Toronto. How are you doing?
Good morning, Johan. How are you?
Perfect. Thank you very much. All good. And yeah, as said, it's all virtual. And so we come in a minute to your presentation. OceanaGold, has just given out a 5-year guidance, and they want to raise the production from approximately 300,000 ounces per year up to 500,000. And this is all calculated without Didipio in the Philippines, which I see as the real joker here. And Sam, I would suggest the floor is yours, and please give us a great insight into your fantastic company.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Johan. It's great to be here. Obviously, it's a different world still that we're living in with virtual roadshows and virtual conferences, but I think we're all making the best of it. And I certainly hope that everyone's doing well and are healthy. So I'm going to just run through a few slides here. The cautionary statements, obviously, I will be making some forward-looking statements. So please do refer to the cautionary statements of our presentation. So without further ado, this is the key slide here, Johan. This is this is what we get really, really excited about. We've just formalized a 5-year outlook or 5-year guidance, which is the very first time OceanaGold has put out a multi-year guidance. In previous years, we would just provide guidance for the upcoming year, but here, we demonstrate what that growth is that you just described, Johan. We formalized it into guidance. We've been talking about this for two plus years in terms of the organic growth potential of OceanaGold. We've got a number of different projects that we're currently investing in, that we're currently advancing through different stages. And within the 5-year plan, you can see that we will increase gold production by 75% from last year's levels, while decreasing our all-in sustaining costs, which translates into increasing margins. So our focus isn't just producing as much gold as we possibly can, it's focusing on the bottom line and focusing on delivering margins, which will translate into very strong returns to shareholders.
So for just a second, if we would assume, just really hypothetical, and I know it's a forward-looking statement for the regulators, but if we would assume Didipio would go back online on, let's say, the production rates you had in the past, just really caution here, how would that change?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Didipio represents a significant near-term catalyst for the company. And we've highlighted there in the box on the slide that 5-year outlook, which looks fantastic, excludes Didipio. And it also excludes WKP, which is just outside that 5-year plan. So with respect to Didipio itself, it's a gold and copper producer. It's a good time right now to be both a producer of both copper and gold. But with copper prices being what they are, it would be a fantastic asset to bring back into the portfolio and realize those revenues. So Didipio's contribution, once we are fully ramped up to full production, would contribute about 110 to 120,000 ounces a year of gold, plus another, say, 11 to 14,000 tons of copper. So using copper as a byproduct to calculate AISC, Didipio would be circa $500 an ounce, all in sustaining cost. So it would be a significant free cash flow generator for the business. It would really be transformational for the company, and that's why we are so focused on bringing it back online. And as I mentioned, Johan, what's also not included in this 5-year outlook is WKP. That's a game changer. I'll get into a few slides here on WKP. But we are working to see how we can responsibly bring that into this 5-year plan, because as I've mentioned, it's currently slated for 2026. So the value proposition, I think, is fairly clear. We do have a significant near-term catalyst with respect to a Didipio startup. Didipio is not being valued in our share price, and that, again, represents a significant opportunity for shareholders, assuming we can bring it back online. But even without Didipio, we still have a very significant business producing a lot of gold, again, with the growth that we do have. And a lot of that is not realized in the value of the shares. So you can see here, just using analyst consensus figures. So just looking through all the analysts that cover us, and we have quite a number of analysts who do cover us, there is a big difference between what we're valued today by the market at circa $1 billion and the total NAV that the analysts have for the business, which is at 1.7 billion without Didipio. So, Haile is obviously the biggest contributor to the NAV, but I would say that Waihi is undervalued from what we see and what we've delivered out there to the market with the Waihi District PEA last year. McRae's is a steady ship. It's a steady producer generating a lot of free cash flow. And then exploration is a real value driver for the business. And we've been investing significant capital to grow the resource base across the business, and we've done so very successfully. And I'll get into each of the specific assets and where the growth drivers are. But that's the opportunity. There's an opportunity right now, but there's an opportunity as we bring these projects forward to deliver even more value to shareholders. Mm-hmm. So more specifically, this year we've got our plates full. We've got a number of different initiatives underway. Obviously, ESG continues to be something that's front and center for investors. And in my mind, it's something that's going to continue to grow. As I've stated before to you, Johan, and many times to investors, we've been doing ESG for 30 years. If we hadn't done ESG properly for 30 years, we wouldn't be in business today. So that's something that we will continue to focus on how we can improve the ESG performance, but also the communication to the investment community. The second point there is deliver on our commitments. I mean, last year was a challenging year for us. We know how challenging it was. There were obviously external factors that came into play, but we are so focused on delivering on our commitments. OceanaGold is a company that says they're going to do something and then go and do it. That's who we've been historically. That's where we want to be, and that's where we'll continue to be, and that's what we're focused on. Organic growth, again, that's a big theme with OceanaGold. We have a significant organic growth pipeline, as you've mentioned. Take the business from 300,000 ounces last year to grow it over 500,000 ounces by 2024. And again, bringing forward some of the other production from WKP would increase that even more significantly. And then Didipio obviously would add to that, which is why we're focused on securing the FTA renewal, working with the government, working with stakeholders, and bringing it online in the near term.
Question, Sam, how long would it take, just approximately, to give us an idea on Didipio to really ramp up to commercial production again, because it was under care and maintenance?
Yeah, let's hold that question, because I do have a slide specifically that discusses that ramp-up schedule, so I can get into some detail on that.
Super, thank you.
So in terms of catalysts, we've broken it out into first half, second half, which are listed there. So we've got a feasibility study for the Martha Underground, which is already producing gold. So that should be completed at the end of this month, and we'll come out with an initial reserve for the Martha Underground. And then as I've mentioned, we've already started producing gold, but we'll be continuous milling starting in late second quarter with feed exclusively from Martha Underground. And then in the second half, again, we've got our plate full in terms of delivering an update on the WKP resource, working on a pre-feasibility study for WKP, and that will come out at some point in the second half of this year. We're building an underground mine at McRae's called Golden Point. That will start producing gold in the fourth quarter. And in anticipation of receiving the permit at Haile, we're looking to start development of the underground there in the second half. So from a capital allocation perspective, we've got a robust business that's generating a lot of cash flow, but the cash flow that we're deploying back into the business on the accretive organic growth projects that I've touched on so far. So that's what we're focused on in terms of investing. We've got a balance sheet which we secured last year to enable the continued development of these organic growth projects in the optimal timelines. But you'll see over the next 5 years, our capital investments will start to decrease, particularly the growth capital, as we bring these projects online. So as time goes on and our need for capital decreases, our free cash flows increase, then we will be able to facilitate debt repayments, but also provide returns to shareholders, which is something that we've done historically and something that we certainly, the board, feels strongly in returning to. So that is something that we would like to continue to do going forward.
So that would be, to be clear, a future dividend payment.
That's right. I mean, there's different forms of returning capital to shareholders. That would be one option, but we certainly would look at other opportunities to return capital back to shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
So organic growth, this is sort of a snapshot of what the projects look like. Safe jurisdictions, attractive jurisdictions. You know, I would say that we operate in specific gold districts, and we're the major player in these gold districts. So you've got the Carolina terrain over at Haile. Again, I mentioned the underground, the potential there, the underground. The future of Haile, frankly, is in the underground, and we look to start developing the underground later this year. At Waihi, we've got the Martha underground, which we've already achieved first production. We continue to ramp that up to steady state production, which is 90 to 100,000 ounces a year. It's fully permitted. We continue to explore, to convert resources, but also to find extensions. And then 10 kilometers to the north of Martha, or from Waihi, is WKP, which is, again, it's a game changer. You can see that, production rates, once we fully ramp up WKP, is 190 to 230,000 ounces a year. So a pretty significant contributor to production for Waihi, which collectively with Martha Underground and the other projects, Waihi would be a 250 to 350,000 ounce a year producer.
Mm-hmm. Question to WKP Underground. We see here the mine life 2026 to 2031, but this is only now calculated on the exploration status of today. It means that you still do exploration, of course, right? And to prolong that.
That's right. We're going to be drilling at WKP for a decade. I mean, we've only just scratched the surface. We have 1.1 million ounces of gold in both indicated and inferred category, at an average grade of between 12 to 13 grams. So it's a super high grade deposit targeting an underground operation, and we've only drilled 35,000 meters. So it's a significant resource to have with limited drilling. So we'll be drilling this for a decade. I mean, WKP, it is a special discovery. We feel that it could potentially be a multi-million ounce discovery. If you look at Waihi itself, it's a mine that's been operating going back to the 1800s, and since the 1800s to today, there's been 9 to 10 million ounces of gold that's been produced from Waihi. We have another 2 million ounces right now in resource, and a target of an additional million ounces. So it could grow to 12, 13, possibly more million ounces just at Waihi. So I'm not saying that WKP could be just as large as Waihi, but it certainly has the potential to get much bigger.
To get big.
That's right. And then McRae's, as I've mentioned, we've got some different opportunities there which we're advancing. Mm-hmm. So Martha Underground, some more specifics there. We've come out with an updated resource. We've got 1 million ounces that's an indicated. First production was achieved already back in the end of Q4. We continue to mine there. We're feeding it through the plant currently. The plant will be shut down soon to do a SAG mill refurbishment, and then we'll start back up in late Q2, and then it's continuous milling from there. The feasibility study, as I've mentioned, we expect that to be completed at the end of this month, and with that we'll have an update. Well, we'll have an initial reserve for Martha Underground, so it'll be our first reserve for the project. And then obviously we will continue to drill extensively at Martha Underground, both doing infill drilling to convert resources, but also extensional drilling. As you can see from the image there, there's a lot of opportunity for us to expand the resource. And to preempt your question, we will be drilling Martha Underground for many more years to come. The drilling hasn't stopped there. We will continue to drill that out. And then the exciting WKP, again, I've talked about it, but I mean, looking at the numbers, you can see the resource there, the different categories between indicated and inferred resources. We put out some drill results earlier this year, including the best drill hole we've had so far for the operation, for the project, drilling almost 50 meters at 23 grams. So that's a pretty extensive intercept that we had. late last year, which we reported this year. We're seeing a lot of those drill results. I mean, from day one, almost every hole that we put into WKP has intersected mineralization and has intersected significant mineralization. What's interesting about WKP too, Johan, is that you can see from the image to the bottom right, most of the drilling has been focused on one vein, which we call the East Graben vein. So 99% of the resource that you see there and 98% of the drilling we've done has been focused on the East Graben vein. We've had, and that vein itself is open in multiple directions. So it's a 1,000 meter strike so far, open in both directions. It's a 200 meter vertical extent, also open at depth. So there's a lot more drilling to do there just on that one vein. So we will continue to drill that out. But you can see it has a couple cousins to the west. So it has T-stream right in the middle. There's a few drill holes there that we've put in. There's a few drill holes that Newmont had in there as well too. And that's why we've got a little bit of the resource from T-stream in our overall resource for WKP. And then over to the west of that, we've got the western vein, which you can see there's a dot there to the bottom left of the western vein system. That's drill platform 7, and we currently have set it up, and we have a drill hole that is testing both western vein and T-stream, and we'll continue to actually go across to East Graben. So it's a drill hole that will extend the full range of what you see there. So we're certainly excited to see what that will come up with. So as I mentioned, we're going to be drilling this for a decade. We have an updated resource, which we expect mid-year. Pre-feasibility study we expect in the second half, and we'll continue to drill there extensively going forward. Then just coming back to my part of the world, closer to your part of the world, in South Carolina, so the Haile gold mine. So we continue to advance mining rates there. We had a challenging year last year with respect to COVID restrictions and COVID illness, but we also had the third worst year in terms of rainfall in the Carolinas in its history. So there's still these external factors that we continue to have to mitigate for. COVID hasn't gone anywhere yet, but obviously there's a lot of hope with vaccinations across the US. So we are focused on keeping our employees safe, but also showing continuous improvement for the operation. But we are very excited for the Haile underground. So the draft SEIS from the US Army Corps of Engineers was issued a few weeks ago, which started a 45-day notice period. Based on how things are tracking, we are expecting that we would get the final decision in mid this year, and then we can start development of the underground in Q3 or early Q4. So as I mentioned, the future of the underground at Haile, the future of Haile is in the underground. So the very first one is the Horseshoe Underground, which is what we'll be building. That's over here to the right of the image. So we've drilled extensively in that green portion of Horseshoe. We have a significant resource there, but we also have some drilling below that in that blue area just below it. And once we get underground, Johan, the key here is we'll start drilling extensively in the underground across this corridor because it gets quite expensive to drill from surface. But once we're underground, we'll do some extensive drilling over to Horseshoe Extension Target, Pisces, Palomino, and eventually over to Aquarius. So the future of Haile is to expand the underground. Again, we see a lot of opportunities to bring on high-grade underground feed into the mill. That de-risks the project, so weather doesn't become an issue once you are underground, obviously, and we can also reduce the amount of waste, obviously, by not having open pits. So the underground is something we are super excited about, and we will be hopefully bringing that online about a year once we start construction. So we expect Horseshoe to start producing gold at the end of next year.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Back to New Zealand and the Golden Point Underground. So we are building the underground here at McRae's. McRae's already has an underground mine called the Fraser's Underground. So basically, Golden Point will eventually replace Fraser's Underground. As I mentioned, it will go into production at the end of this year in the fourth quarter. We'll utilize the same infrastructure we have for Fraser's Underground. So from a capital entry perspective, it's pretty limited capital to bring online a new underground. It currently has a 4 to 5 year mine life, but with Fraser's Underground, that also had I think it was a 5 to 6 year mine life when it came into operation in 2008. So it's clearly gone much longer than the initial mine life. So the way to look at McRae's is that it's a steady operation. It'll produce anywhere from, say, 150 to 170,000 ounces a year, contributing from both open pit and underground. And the underground will go as long as the open pits will go. We continue to drill extensively there. It's a major system. It's a 35-kilometer strike length. We've only been mining for the past 30 years for about 10 kilometers of that. So there's definitely a lot more ground for us to discover. And then going back to your question earlier, so this is sort of the ramp-up schedule for Didipio. So we are, we had an announcement at the beginning of December, which was very positive. The government, basically the Office of the President, directed government agencies, including the Department of Environment and Natural Resources and Department of Finance, to engage with the company to finalize the terms and conditions of our FTAA renewal. We had some very good progress made with them in the month of December, which is highly unusual because the Philippines typically shuts down for Christmas. But they worked through Christmas, and we had several meetings with them, and there was no showstoppers from our perspective. So now it's back with the secretaries in each of those departments for full review and ratification before it goes back up to the Office of the President. So we're looking at how we can safely restart Didipio. It's a country Philippines is a country that's been impacted by COVID, so we do have to factor in a safe restart of the operation. So to achieve full production, so the 110 to 120,000 ounces of gold plus copper is going to take up to 12 months. Might happen sooner, but we're saying it's going to take up to 12 months. Once we get green lit, the very first thing we're going to be doing is recruiting back the people that we had to let go in October and November. So Didipio employs about 1,500 workers. Most of them were laid off in two tranches, one in October, one in November. So the very first thing we're going to do is hire them back, as many of them as we can hire back. That will dictate the ramp-up schedule. So we will start bringing in supplies almost immediately. We've got a significant amount of concentrate, gold copper concentrate, that we produced before we were shut down, but have been unable to truck out. We will start moving those trucks as soon as we can. The process plant, we will look to restart that and start feeding it with low-grade stockpiles. We have about 19 million tons of low-grade stockpiles on surface. So we will be almost, I'd say within 1 or 2 months, be able to start processing and producing gold. But as we recruit people back on and we train them up, particularly for the underground, then we'll start the underground infrastructure up, including the paste plant. We'll start developing the stopes in the underground. And that's why we've given ourselves up to 12 months here to get up to full production. But if we can get a green light soon and recruit everybody back and train them up and do it safely, then hopefully we can shrink those timelines. Mm-hmm. And I believe this is the last slide. So ESG, again, it's a major focal point for us. We are one of the top-rated ESG companies in the gold industry. We've got an A rating with the MSCI. We're top-rated with Sustainalytics. We're top-rated with Vigeo. These are just a few different rating agencies. So for us, again, we do ESG. We live it, we eat it, we breathe it. We do that every single day as we operate in the jurisdictions that we operate in. You have to do that to earn your social license, to be an environmental steward. So there are a number of initiatives we're focused on this year. Last year, we came out with a statement around climate change, how we're going to be net carbon neutral by 2050. So we're looking to establish some targets, communicate that more broadly to the market in terms of how we're going to be able to achieve that. We are part of that. Looking at WKP, for example, is we're investigating the opportunity of going with an all-electric fleet, which would be one of the first operations in the world to do that. So that's something that one of the initiatives that we are considering for WKP as an example. Biodiversity has become very important with stakeholders, with shareholders. So that's something that we're looking to implement is what our biodiversity management standard is, and implementing that across the organization. We've had a human rights policy for a number of years. We've evolved it with time, and we're going to be implementing the updated version of human rights policy for the organization. So again, this is an enabler. We do it well. We're not perfect. We will look to get better, as we always do through this process of continuous improvement. But again, this is a big value driver, especially where we operate.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, super. Sam, thank you very much. It was a very compelling and great presentation here. Yeah, it looks to me too that OceanaGold is really totally undervalued. Do you have an idea, or can you even say that what is the approximate average price target of the analysts?
Yeah, we've got analysts both in Australia and North America. They have a different methodology, so they do value the business very differently. On average, the target price is around $3.68 Canadian using analyst. It is higher from the North American analyst perspective, and then the Australian analyst has sort of dragged that average down.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's approximately 95% higher than today's share price, which is, I would say, a great sign for future value creation.
No, absolutely. As I showed in that one slide, I mean, there is, with where we're trading today at $1 billion US, and looking at the analyst consensus is 1.7 billion US without Didipio. I mean, that alone, there's value there to unlock. There's a big delta there. There's a big disconnect there. So, I mean, we know what we need to do. We can't control the market, but we can control what we do. And this is why we're focused on delivering on our commitments, advancing our organic growth opportunities, and working hard with the Filipino government to bring on board Didipio, which represents a significant near-term catalyst for shareholders and for our business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also this would drive the stock significantly up, I would say. If we are talking about future dividends, would you first repay your credit facilities, or would you say, we have approximately $200 million of credit facilities, maybe we pay that down to 100 million and then we restart dividend payments? Or what's the plan on that? Or do you have like a formula where you say like, okay, we give back 40% of net EBITDA to shareholders or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, our dividend that we had wasn't structured that way. We had a 2 cents dividend paid annually, or 1 cent paid semi-annually, and then a discretionary amount based on profitability. But it was board discretion. There was no particular calculation that went into it. There was no specific policy around profitability or EBITDA that we've shared publicly anyways. We have our revolving credit facility, which is with a group of 6 international banks. And we just refinanced that at the end of last year. We expanded it to $250 million. That's not due until the end of December, of 2024. So we've got a number of years before any payments are required on the facility. But the way we look at our business is we feel that we need to have a balanced business, one where we need to continue to reinvest in our business to continue the mine life, because we have finite mine lives. That's just the nature of our business. So we do need to reinvest in the business to continue them. But we also want to return capital to shareholders, but also pay down debt. So that's what I mean by a balanced business, where we're reinvesting in the business, we're paying a dividend, and we're paying down debt. So the timing depends on where we are in the life cycle of our projects, but also where we are in terms of debt obligations and the desire to return capital to shareholders.
If I look at your really low share price in respect on the business you have, in respect what you are planning for really soon for the next 1, 2, 3 years, would it be also appropriate to say that you are buying back some shares if the share price is still that low?
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of cash on the balance sheet, but that cash is going towards funding the organic growth of our business. We would love to buy back our shares. We believe that it's undervalued, but we don't necessarily have an opportunity to buy back our shares today. Ironically, Didipio comes back on, we're going to have a lot more cash on the balance sheet. We'll be a very strong free cash flow generator, but the share price will re-rate Our expectation is that it will re-rate on the back of the Didipio restart. So we will consider that. We will consider that. We went to the equity markets last year and we asked shareholders for capital to advance the organic growth. And that was because we wanted to secure the balance sheet so that the projects would advance in optimal timelines, because the Didipio was delayed in restarting. So with the Didipio back on, the board is committed to return capital to shareholders, and we will consider dividend payments. We will consider buybacks. We will run it through our filters to see what is going to generate the highest returns for shareholders, while continuing to look at the big picture and the long-term picture, because we want to invest in projects. We want to make investments for the long-term sustained value for shareholders. So that's how we look at our business. But we are committed to returning capital to shareholders.
Super. Sam, that was a great final sentence. Thank you very much. Fully committed to shareholders and return capital to shareholders. This is something what we really like. I'm a shareholder too, just for disclosure reasons here also, and really happy and proud to be one. Yeah, Sam, thank you very much for the great presentation. All the best to you, to Toronto, and please stay healthy in those shaky times.
Yeah, no, thanks so much, John. A great opportunity to come out here and present. And just for the record, I'm a shareholder as well too. So let's skin in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how we like it. Thank you very much, Sam. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Sam Pazuki, the Senior Vice President, Corporate Development of OceanaGold. And you heard it. A lot of good things will happen the next 5 years. The company laid out a fantastic 5-year organic growth plan, even without Didipio in the Philippines. And if Didipio comes online, and I really hope this will happen soon here this year, I think there's a significant re-rating for sure in this company. And as you heard it, the analysts have already price targets of 360 plus Canadian dollars. We, in our analysis, give the company already a $4.75 target based on the point and figure charts we are doing. You know that. And I think it's really time to have a very close look onto this fantastic gold producer, because it's quite rare that you have the opportunity to get really that cheap into such a fantastic company with a super high ESG rating, and also with a fantastic organic pipeline for the future, and maybe some dividends also coming up. So check out the company. Thanks for watching us. This was Commodity TV as the media partner for PDAC 2021. Bye-bye, and all the best from Switzerland.